Okay. That was fun. Mm. Saturdays are a bad day for this. All right, let's do a little test. Saturdays are a bad day for this. All right. It's working. It is working. Jack, what's up? Jack is here. Mr. Jack is the, I want to say, founder of Statamic. Also, this is a great time for me to find out if I'm pronouncing Statamic correctly. Jack will have to let me know. Oh, Saturdays are bad for this, I know. So this is one of those videos that will, it'll get watched more later as a static video probably than it will get watched live in the moment here, but my new job makes it very difficult to create content during normal hours. So this is where we're at. But I still wanted to do it live just because I think it'll be fun to watch me struggle. If there's one thing I've learned from my YouTube journey, it's that my viewers enjoy watching me struggle. So this should not disappoint. We're going to be literally learning Statamic. I have zero experience with it so far. I've looked at it a little bit in the past, just like looking at their website and following Jack on Twitter, but I have not yet tried to actually fire up a site and actually build something with it. And so I've heard that Statamic is pretty AI friendly, which is good because AI is how I roll. I'm not going to be in there actually, typing code like some sort of early 2020s caveman. My agent will be doing the work. If you're curious, I am using Hermes, and I'm using Claude Opus 4.8. I'm using Copilot, which is sort of, I feel like I've hacked the system somehow because I am literally paying Copilot almost nothing. I mean, we're talking, I paid for their Plus plan, which was like $300 for the year. And then, I don't know, I pay roughly between $20 and $40 a month. Just in like credits or whatever, however, tokens, however they track that. And I can use like basically whatever model I want. Like I just go and I put in Codex if I want to use Codex, or I put in Claude if I want to use Claude. So it's very odd. Like I don't have a Claude subscription. I'm not paying the $100 or $200 a month to Claude. I'm literally just paying Copilot. There's got to be a catch. I haven't found it yet. I'm not running out of, like, it's not telling me you can't do any more work. You have to wait an hour. Like, we used to all get that using ChatGPT back in the day. Like, I don't know. There's got to be some kind of limit. Otherwise, this is just the most cheat code that I've ever found. But that's what I'm doing. And I communicate with my agent via Discord, which is what you're looking at right here. So I started a brand new session. So he's going to be fresh. And then I gave it one little prompt because the website that we're going to be building in Statamic is this website, and this isn't live yet. It's technically live on GitHub pages, but like it hasn't launched. I'm still working with the board on this organization to possibly get this launched. They have an existing site. It's not as nice as this. This was 100% designed. This was 99.99% designed by AI. Awesome. Thanks, Jack. Jack says I'm pronouncing Statamic correctly. So for anybody else watching this, it's Statamic. There you go. This was designed by AI. The first version, it had this text over here and then just the big empty blankness over here. And I was like, that's weird. That's a lot of white space. So I grabbed this image, I removed the left hand part of the background there to made it transparent, and I gave it that image and I said use this, and then this is what it came up with. So 99.99% designed by AI and built, and I think it's just a basic Astro site, and it's hosted on GitHub Pages right now. GitHub Pages is a great way to just show a client like what you're working on, you know, like, hey, here's what we got so far. Just throw it up on GitHub Pages. Doesn't work for everything, of course. You wouldn't be able to throw like a WordPress website on there, but anywho, so that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna be talking to my AI, and while AI is thinking, I'm gonna be trying to break some of the silence by we're actually gonna go learn about Statamic the old-fashioned way. We're gonna go to their website and we're gonna read stuff while the agent is working. But I'm gonna go ahead and give my agent one of my world famous prompts, and just to kind of get it going. So let's see. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to rebuild this website. We're going to be using something called Statamic. Let's see if Whisperflow, almost. I don't know how to train Whisperflow. I think you can train it to get words right, but it might struggle with Statamic since it's not a real word. I have no experience with Statamic, so I'm going to be relying on you pretty heavily to do your research. Feel free to go to their website, which I believe is just statamic.com, but I can verify. Read the documentation. Try not to make too many assumptions. And I want you to do it properly. I want you to actually use Statamic. I know in the past, when I have you build a website with something like M-, you will basically just build a completely static front end, and you don't even really properly use the M- CMS. I don't want you to do that here. I want you to actually use Statamic the way it's meant to be used. I think there's a couple things on this website that will probably need to be a collection. I don't know if Statamic calls it a collection, but that's a pretty standard term, so I know you know what I'm talking about. For instance, on this website, there are board members or directors, so that could probably be a collection. There's also events on this website. Events could be a collection, again, or whatever Statamic calls collections. But yeah, so other than that, I want the website to look and function exactly the same way it does now. I'm told that Statamic is pretty AI friendly and it's a flat file system, so it shouldn't be very difficult for you to basically just copy and paste the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. to make sure the website looks exactly the same. But the challenge, of course, is going to be building it in Statamic for the first time. So we're going to do it locally first, of course, and then we may publish this live at some point. If I'm correct on this, I think to publish a website, I think there's a cost involved with Statamic, but I think you can build locally for free, so you might need to verify that. Let me know. Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, Statamic. I got to figure out how to train Whisperflow. And the AI is going to be smart enough to know what I'm talking about. If I spell it correctly a few times and then it's not spelled correctly after that, but it just bothers me. All right, let's see what he comes up with. So is it statamic.com? Did they get that? They did. Nice work. Nice work, Jack. All right, what do we got? Let's go to pricing first. So free core, the core Statamic experience, free to use however you want forever. That's interesting. Jack is in the chat. He says that it is 100% free for one super admin user. Pro is for teams and has some extra features you probably won't need for this, honestly. Awesome. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. I wonder how one gets Statamic. Is it similar to WordPress.org where you just download like a zip file from their website? I'm sure Charlie will figure that out. Developers, documentation. Let's just go back to the homepage for now. Okay, so this looks like a little picture of the dashboard. I like it. It's organized It's actually organized, unlike a WordPress dashboard, which is pretty unorganized. Looks like they do use the term collections. That's good. And they got some basic examples of common collections here: articles, blog. Not sure what the difference is between articles and blog and news, but okay. Assets, globals, taxonomies, navigation. Cool, cool, cool. I don't know how much of this is like core and how much of it is like maybe they added a plugin or something, and a plugin added an option over here, but I'm guessing this is probably pretty basic core stuff over here. Ooh, Forbes is using it. IKEA is using it. Interesting. All right, what do we got? Customize everything. Feel right at home, powerful. So one thing I like about Statamic, and I say that as a person who's never used it yet, but like I said, I've been following the Statamic journey for a little bit, is Statamic doesn't pretend to be this sort of super easy DIY product. Like I feel like when I read posts on Twitter from the Statamic account, I get the feeling that they understand that they are a developer tool for professionals. And that's who they talk to, that's who they market to, that's who they build for when they're building Statamic. That I don't think they're building it so that some random, uh, Susan who's opening a bakery and wants a website, she's not going to fire up Statamic and start building a website. Someone like her is going to want to use Squarespace or Wix or something. So this is a tool for professionals, which is good that they understand that, because that just means it's going to be a better product for professionals. One of the pitfalls of WordPress is a lot of professionals complain about this or that, and it's because WordPress seems to be trying to somehow make a product that is amazing for professionals, but also at the same time amazing for DIY non-techie noobs, which is basically an impossible task. So I like that. So we got some blueprints, organized fields to structure your content. Oh, imagine that. You can have custom fields in a content management system without having to install a plugin. What a crazy concept. 40 field types right off the bat. Okay. Block-based editing. That word scares me. Live preview. Yeah, multi-site. Oh, they have a multi-site feature. I've been using WordPress for approximately 400 years now, and I've never used a multi-site. I've never set up a multi-site. I have occasionally had to like log into a website that was part of a multi-site, but I have like zero multi-site experience basically. All right, here we go. Here's the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of Statamic, or the difference between Statamic and something like WordPress. Is that Statamic is a flat file system, which is a little different from WordPress. WordPress is, it's all built on template PHP files. So you'll have like a post.php. That's a single file that renders every single blog post on your website. And it just pulls data from the database, drops it into that page.php template or post.php template. Statamic does not work that way. Jack says that Statamic's blocks are wildly different from WordPress. That's good to hear. To be fair, I don't even hate WordPress blocks. I hate that when people try to pretend that it's some sort of page builder. Blocks as a replacement for short codes are amazing. I mean, being able to drop a block on your page and then customize it with the UI is 1,000 times better than adding a short code and then you have to customize it by just typing a dozen different attributes or whatever to make the short code do what you want. And then you have to look up what those attributes are in the documentation versus dropping a block in that has a UI with drop downs and checkboxes and whatnot. I mean, blocks as a replacement for short codes are amazing. Huge upgrade. the problem is when people try to use it as a page builder, it doesn't work very well. It requires a lot of extra stuff. Like you pretty much have to install something like Ollie or Cadence or something. It also is, it's frustrating because you can't use blocks on like an Elementor page, right? If you're building a page with Elementor, you have to use Elementor modules. So if you're using a plugin that has blocks, you can't use them. You have to hope that the plugin also has shortcodes, and then you can drop a shortcode on an Elementor page, but you can't drop like a Gutenberg block on an Elementor page or a Divi page or whatever. So a couple shortfalls there, but it'll be interesting to see how blocks work. Let's see what Charlie's up to. So he's probably got some questions for me. Statamic course free forever. Cool. It figured that out. Yeah, we're not going to mess with Pro. My environment is 95% ready. It's missing 2 PHP extensions. Okay, he's going to have to install those for me. He's going to install Statamic collections. He does call them collections. Yep. Good, good, good. Antlers templates, Statamic's template language. Okay. That's a new one to me. Hey, Morgan. Morgan, what is your experience with Statamic? I don't know who you are, if you know or not, but Jack is in the chat, the founder of Statamic, so that's fun. What is your experience with Statamic? Are you part of the Statamic team? Are you a Statamic user? I'm doing this for the very first time ever, so all right, Charlie has some questions for me. So, fresh Statamic project, separate repo. Yes, I will want to create a new repo for this. That's a good point. The current index site is a single page site, blah, blah, blah. Should the Statamic version stay one page, board members post events as sections, or do you eventually want separate pages? Is it one? Yeah, it is all one page, isn't it? And everything just scrolls. Okay, and then okay to apt install the two. Yes, all right. For number one, yes, I will create a new GitHub repo so you can still get started locally, initialize Git and all that, and then we can push it to GitHub once I get that repo set up. But yes, I will create a separate repo, so do not push this stuff to our existing GitHub repo. As for number two, build the website so that it looks and works exactly as it is right now, so single page, but you know, we may want to add more pages in the future, I don't know. But as of right now, I just want to basically rebuild the current site using Statamic. For number three, yes, go ahead and install those 2 PHP extensions so that you can get started. Or give me the, I guess since it requires sudo, I'll need to do it. So give me the command and then I'll do it. Morgan retracted a message. Ooh, I missed it. Dang it, was it spicy? So my my AI agent is actually installed on a different computer. So I'm gonna have to remote into that computer real quick like so I can run these this sudo command. The laptop is literally like right there, but it's still just easier to just remote in and do it. All right. Here's my Discord chat. No, that's not it. What's it? Okay, so Charlie's waiting for me to run this command. Copy this command, pull up the terminal, and there we go. See if I can remember my sudo password. Looks like I did. All right, it's installing. It's installing those 2 PHP extensions that Charlie needed. And it's just about done. Okay. All right. Those extensions are installed. Get to work, Chuck. What did Morgan say? I've used Statamic to build multiple websites. The experience is amazing. I remember having to ask some recommendations for a specific case, and Jack was very helpful. That does not surprise me. Jack seems like a helpful dude. Some typo errors. Yeah, I feel you on that one. All right, I'm going to set up a GitHub repo. I have way too many GitHub repos. How do I do this? And ooh, here we go. I've never noticed that button before. That is helpful. All right, we're going to call this, speaking of typos, bearing the flame Statamic. Now my AI agent has access to my whole GitHub account because that's just how I roll. I like to live dangerously. I used to give it specific, every time I create a new repo, I would go into the public access token and add that repo. And then I was just like, eventually I was like, you know what? That's dumb. He needs access to everything. I'm probably never going to create a repo in GitHub that I don't want my AI to have access to. So I said, give it access to everything. Okay. Jack is, see, this is why we're doing this. AI does often like to, I don't know, I don't want to say do things the wrong way, but it doesn't always know the best way to do things. Oh, thanks, Morgan. I appreciate you subscribing. I'm hoping to start creating more content again. I took a new job that just kind of has me drained all the time. I drive around repairing and installing ATM machines. It's a Monday through Friday type thing. So it's difficult to create content during normal hours these days, but I'm going to try. So I appreciate the subscription. What was I doing? All right. API call failed after 3 reties. What are you trying to? Connection error. API failed. Statamic install. Let me verify. Okay. Status update. Extensions installed. He got Statamic installed. App key generated. All right. The founder of Statamic has informed me that you are skipping the nice user-friendly CLI installer. What do you know about that? What do you know about that, Charlie? Let's go back to the website. What do we got here? So they have an add-on marketplace. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that add-ons are similar to plugins for WordPress. Let's explore that. What do we got for add-ons here? Okay, newest, most popular, free, please. Skynet? All right, I can search. So you know what? Is there form plugins? How do we do a form in Statamic? There's a Brevo extension. That's what I use. I use Brevo. Wait, create Brevo context from form submissions. Okay. We'll have to ask Charlie about that. I'm sure he knows. Forms too. So there's a lot of, I'm guessing this makes me think that a form might just be a built-in feature Statamic, because it seems like all these extensions are just building on an existing form architecture to connect your form to MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever. So I'm guessing forms are just built into Statamic, which would be pretty sweet if that was true. I don't know how it would work. I'm assuming you still need to connect like some sort of SMTP service or whatever, but the fact that the form architecture is built in. Yeah, there's Jack. He says forms are built in. All right, that's cool. That's cool. All right, well, that means that you probably also don't need like an SMTP plugin. I bet that probably is built in as well. You just probably drop your API key in or something somewhere. If you're using Brevo or Mailgun or whatever. What else? Performance. Ooh. Everybody loves to install 4 different caching plugins on their website because everybody knows every caching plugin improves the performance of your website by 10%. That's how it works. So the more you can install, the better. What else over here? Spam security. Okay, so we got this little certified partner badge. I wonder what goes into becoming a certified partner. Okay, cool. SMTP handling is built into Laravel. That's another thing. If you aren't aware, Statamic is built on Laravel, which is kind of cool. It would be kind of neat if WordPress was built on Laravel, but it's kind of too late. I mean, I think I'm not a developer, but I imagine trying to switch a vanilla PHP platform like WordPress to Laravel would and WordPress doesn't like to do anything that they think might break a website that was built in 1997. So that also makes bringing WordPress into the modern age difficult. All right, Charlie, he's right, and it's a fair call out. Of course he's right. He created this thing. Let me be straight about what I did. Statamic has an official CLI installer, a global tool. All right, this kicks off what I actually did. I use Composer create project, why I did it, blah, 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 the honest trade-off. So the question for you, do you want me to scrap this and redo it? Ooh, I think I kind of do. Of course, he's leaning toward keeping it. I want to do it the way the founder of this platform thinks we should do it. Yeah. All right. I wonder why he didn't, like, I told him to look at the website and the documentation. I wonder, let's look at their documentation. Is this, I'm assuming this is nice and scrapable by AI. Ooh, they got a whole separate domain for it. How to install Statamic. Statamic CLI. It's right there, bro. It's right there, homie. Yeah. That's probably a good point. Jack says that the AI probably skipped it because it just wants to kind of one-shot it, and using the CLI required some input from me. So that's actually a good point to think about in the future, because he's probably right. It makes sense. And so maybe I need to adjust my prompts just in general to try and mitigate that. Like, make sure he's not just always taking the easy way. Make sure he knows that it's okay to, like, ask me for input if that's what is required to do something properly. So that's a good AI philosophy question there. Servers live, home returns, blah, blah, blah. I can log in, control panel, password. Wow. All right. Everything seems to be up. Can you ngrok that for me, please? ngrok is a service that takes your local thing and basically makes it live, gives it a link you can click on, because again, this is all actually technically happening on a laptop which is sitting next to me right now. So if I click on this, it won't do anything because there's nothing on that URL on this computer. It validates the host header, so a raw ngrok can trip a 403. Bro, just figure it out. Just do it. Do the thing. Always allow. Again, I like to live dangerously. Like I'm ever gonna read this and understand what it means and then click deny? Nah, bro. That's why this is installed on a laptop that it's not even on Windows. It's on WSL, so it'd be very difficult for this AI to like completely bork my computer. And if it does, who cares? It's just that's the only thing this laptop does is run this AI agent. So, all right, let's see if it worked. Holy cow! I mean, it looks terrible, but looks like there might be a CSS issue. Actually, you know what? I forget this feature exists. Here's a fun little tidbit for you. If you use the inspect tool and you pick an element, let's just say this main, and you right click on it, you can save a screenshot of that element. Now it's probably too long, like too tall. Every time I try to do this, I get error messages. I can't tell if it's Discord related or Hermes related, but it's probably going to think this image is too tall and give me an error message. Yep, error code. All right, so, oh well. There seems to be a CSS issue. There's a bunch of like gigantic icons and stuff, and it just doesn't look good at all. Can you check and make sure that CSS is rendering properly? And I'll give it just a regular screenshot of this top part here. Should be able to handle that. There's like I've did some digging and found out. Oh yeah, it says right here. It's exceeded the max allowed size 8,000 pixels. So the image that I tried to share with it is too tall, but that's still a cool. If you ever just want to take a screenshot of something, but it's like you want to take a screenshot of more than what's in your viewport, you can right click and save a screenshot of any HTML element. So this is the screenshot that I just took, right? So that's pretty neat. It's got the whole, it doesn't just have the little hero section that was available in the viewport. I was able to take a screenshot of the entire main element tag. So that's a very useful tip that I learned about probably half a year ago. Confirmed, exactly what I thought, of course. It's always exactly what you thought. The layout, blah, 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 pulls in styles, which requires either byte. Okay, nothing to fix here because this whole welcome page pipeline gets thrown out. Your Burying the Flame site uses self-contained inline CSS, one big style block. Okay. You said that the Burying the Flame site uses self-contained inline CSS, but is that how you would be building this if you were building it from absolute scratch using Statamic? I don't care how the current site is built, homie. I care about how this site is going to be built. Oh, he says that if I reload, it'll be... Yeah, it's not. He lied. Honest answer, no. Yeah, here's how it should be done. Yes. I just want to reiterate that I want this website to be built properly in Statamic. I want you to basically pretend you're building this from complete scratch. And then when it comes to the content and the design, you can go ahead and steal the HTML and CSS from the current site. But we're basically building this from scratch the proper way using Statamic. So if you need to move CSS somewhere to do this the right way, then do it. That being said, we got Statamic up and running, so I'm not really super concerned about this little Statamic homepage. Go ahead and start building the actual site. Again, just want to reiterate again, to do it properly, the Statamic way. Hey, it's actually starting to spell Statamic correctly. So I think Whisperflow is just kind of learning because I kept changing it. Maybe. I don't know, but it's learning. Yeah, definitely not the quickest. We don't ever want to do it the quickest way. Fully idiomatic, a bit slower, most correct, pragmatic, proper, external CSS files. All right, let's see if it, I'm not going to give it an explicit answer. Let's see what it does based on my rant. All right, building it the proper Statamic way. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. All right, what were we doing? We were checking out, okay, the documentation, yep. Requirements, probably PHP, yep, 8.3, a bunch of extensions. Apparently I had all these except for just 2. Okay. Linux, which is what he's building in right now. Yep. Yep. All right, let's go back to, where were we? We were checking out add-ons. What's a starter kit? Are these like themes? Yeah, looks like it's site packages or meticulous developer boilerplates. Okay. Okay, commerce. Ooh, how does e-commerce work on this? That might be actually a good, let's see if there's something in the docs about commerce specifically. Okay, so we got some add-ons. There's integration for Lemon Squeezy. What about just regular Stripe? Cargo provides essential features like product catalogs, shopping carts, order management. It can handle digital and physical products, tax calculations, blah, blah, blah. Let's check that out. This website doesn't have any e-commerce on it at the moment, but it's one of the big questions whenever people start talking about possibly leaving WordPress for something else. One of the things they always bring up is, what about e-commerce? How does e-commerce work? Like M-Dash right now, if you're trying to build a website in M-Dash, it'd be very difficult to build an e-commerce website. I don't think they have any sort of e-commerce solution yet. So you basically would be building out something completely from scratch, which honestly with AI is not that difficult. If you're just talking about a simple checkout process, I've done it a couple times. If you use the Stripe, I think they just call it Stripe checkout. It makes it easier because then you don't have to worry about stuff like PCI compliance, because the checkout process is actually happening on Stripe's website / server, not yours. So you're never storing any credit card information or anything like that. That's pretty easy to actually set up with AI, but it is still a concern when trying to switch away from something like WordPress or Shopify. So if there is something like this available that is robust and works, then that can go a long way towards convincing someone to consider switching from WordPress to something else. I like these this add-on. So how to install? You just copy this composer command, drop it in, and boom, you got your add-on installed. Got some issues, open PRs. So I wonder if this is coming from Like GitHub, is this GitHub data? Looks like it. There's the GitHub logo there. I wonder if that's required. Like, does every add-on have to be a GitHub repo that can be installed with the composer command? Like, I wonder what the requirements are for getting an add-on into the add-on marketplace. Duncan, welcome to the stream. What is your relationship with Cargo? Oh, hey, look at that. There, that's his relationship to Cargo. It's his. Welcome. We're just exploring. We're not going to be using Cargo in this video, Duncan. Sorry, but I was just talking about how e-commerce is one of the biggest hurdles for people considering leaving WordPress. So while my AI agent was busy doing stuff, I was just kind of exploring the e-commerce world of Statamic, and of course found Cargo here, which I believe you're a member of the team. Yeah, developed by a core team member. So you're part of the Statamic team. Okay. Duncan, yeah, okay, here we go. Stripe included out of the box. Awesome. But what if I hate myself and I want to use PayPal? Is that possible? Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, I'm a little too happy today. I should probably go try to build a store using PayPal. I'm gonna take care of that happiness real quick. He's still working. What's he doing? He's laying out the architecture. Yes, it's a flat file CMS. You know what I want to do? Ooh, hey, Cloudflare doesn't think your guys' docs are very agent ready, by the way. If you guys care about that. I don't even fully understand what all this means, but this is a fun little tool from Cloudflare that analyzes your site to see if it is agent ready. And apparently it's not very agent ready. Anywho, I want to, while my agent that I have to pay for is running, I'm going to ask the free agent some questions. Why am I typing? What year is it? Can you explain the difference between WordPress architecture and Statamic's flat file system? This is supposed to be a learning experience, so we're going to learn. All right, WordPress uses a traditional database-driven structure. Yep, Statamic defaults to flat file system. Ooh, with an optional database mode. Okay. Be interesting to dig into that. WordPress is PHP-based. I already know all that. Statamic is a modern CMS built as a Laravel package application. By default, it uses flat file approach. Content lives as plain text files on the file system rather than in a database. That is interesting. It's interesting to me because I'm old and I remember like building websites. Oh, look at that. It is adding stuff. That was Whisperflow. Did you guys see that? Whisperflow just added Statamics to my dictionary. So it is learning as it goes. That's useful. I remember building websites, you know, without a database back in the day. And then when I first heard about WordPress and started playing around with WordPress, I absolutely hated it because I didn't understand it at all. I didn't understand the concept of a dynamic website. I didn't understand the concept of a database. I couldn't figure out. I was looking at the files and I created a page called, I don't know, like about. And then I was trying to find like an about.html or an about.php, and I couldn't find it, and none of it made any sense to me. And then of course eventually I learned it. I learned how that stuff worked, And so when I think of like a flat file website, it that feels old school to me. It feels like database is new school, flat file is old school. But this is a modern development system that uses a flat file system. I imagine there are definitely some implications here. First of all, regarding security, if there's no database to hack, then you can't hack the database. And there's probably also some significant performance considerations as well. So entries, blog posts, pages, products are typically markdown files with YAML or pure YAML files. And they're in a content directory. Okay. Configuration, blueprints, templates, and assets are also file-based. There is no database required for most sites. Statamic builds an in-memory index cache called the stash from these files for fast querying. That's a fun word, querying and routing. Content can be edited via modern view-based control panel or directly in a code editor. I wonder if that's like included. Like, is that okay? Control panel. So that's probably like a dashboard, not like M- tries to have that like front end editing experience that I never seem to be able to get working. But this sounds like it's more like a traditional WordPress, like logging into the backend dashboard and editing your content in the control panel. Or you can just open a code editor, which is basically what we're doing. And by code editor, I mean my AI agent. So that's I think this is one of the reasons Statamic, everybody says it's so AI friendly, because you can log in and click on things like a caveman, or you can just tell your AI bot to do stuff and it will do it. Get revert, branching, blah blah blah. Templating uses antlers. Is antlers okay? What is antlers? Is that something Statamic made up? Is that a Laravel term? I've never heard it before. Key difference. All right, WordPress. Yep. Database, no database. Version control. Yeah, that's the thing with WordPress. You can't throw WordPress up on like GitHub. I mean, you can, but it won't. Like, you can't throw your database on GitHub. So that's always a thing that you can't really have complete and total version control in GitHub with WordPress. You still have to kind of manage your database data separately from Git. It sounds like since with Statamic, since everything is just in a file, you can version control the entire thing, which is cool. Jack says that Statamic made up antlers. Okay. Loosely based on Liquid, but way better. All right. I have no idea what Liquid is, but so antlers is a Statamic term. Performance, yep. DB queries mitigated by caching. File reads, aggressive caching. So yeah, I'm assuming that by default, a non-optimized Statamic website will probably perform better than a non-optimized WordPress website. That's just my guess. Extensibility, who cares? There's 60,000 WordPress plugins. About 100 of them are good. Blah, blah, blah. Best suited for developer. Yes, thank you. This is not for random little DIY noobs. Oh, Liquid is Shopify's thing. Okay. Yeah, I knew that Shopify made up their own thing too. Back in the day, I was considering getting into Shopify, and I decided I was too old to learn new tricks, and I just stuck with WordPress. But yeah, I knew Shopify had their own sort of PHP-based language that they used. Antlers is Statamic's own templating language. Okay. Jack already answered that question for us. All right. Oh, he is still going. But no errors. He's not stuck on anything. He's just plugging away. I bet this is probably broken. Yep. All right, Charlie, keep going. It's too bad this wasn't a better time of the week and day. We got Jack and Duncan in the chat. This would be a perfect opportunity for people to ask questions. And the two people probably most able to answer anybody's questions about Statamic are in the same chat at the same time. ACF and what am I looking at? Switching from WordPress. Here we go. This is probably something that is interesting to a lot of people. Not relevant for this video since Bearing the Flames website, this is not on WordPress, but obviously, you know, WordPress is 40% of the web if you believe those numbers. So there's probably a lot of people who would be interested in this. Yes, ACF custom fields. Statamic was built from the ground up with the approach 40 different field types. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. So how do you convert though? Arguably the ACF or Pods framework. Yes, Pods. Pods is a good plugin. You have control. Yes, yes, yes. So, I mean, this is a lot of good content about how custom fields work in Statamic, but I'm looking at this going, okay, well, how do I convert ACF custom fields to Statamic? It's probably not. It would probably be very difficult to try to build some sort of tool that migrates that. AI could probably handle it, but trying to just build a tool that does it, I imagine would be difficult because there's just so much stuff that you can do in a plugin with like ACF or Pods. Gutenberg and block page builders. Take a look at Bard and Replicator field types. They allow you to create blocks. We call them sets out of any other native field types, giving you virtually unlimited ways to configure your content. Oh snap, Duncan says there is an official importer add-on. I might drop that in this paragraph since this is literally called switching from WordPress to Statamic. So my first thought when I read this is, okay, it's about to tell me how I can migrate from ACF to Statamic, and then it doesn't. It just kind of talks about how great Statamic custom fields are. Maybe drop a link in this paragraph to that official importer add-on. A single assets fields I need. We got block quotes, newsletter signups, themes. Statamic uses starter kits instead of traditional themes. These kits go beyond just styling. They can include plugins, custom code, and entire workflows. That kind of scares me a little bit because that sounds kind of like how WordPress works, which is themes as architecture instead of themes just being like, you know, controlling the styling and stuff. So my question when I read that is, let's say I build a site using some starter kit and then I just decide I want to switch to a different starter kit. How difficult is that? How much rebuilding am I going to do? Because like you can't build a site in Elementor and then be like, you know what? I just saw a YouTube video about Divi and Divi looks really cool. I want to switch to that. So you go switch to your Divi theme. Now all your content is gone. You have to basically rebuild your entire site. Is that what it's like switching from one starter kit to another in Statamic? I mean, if all your content is just in a bunch of flat files, I don't know. I don't know how that works. SEO. Yes, Yoast is probably the biggest plugin. Okay, Jack says starter kits are not really interchangeable. So find the one you like, do a little bit of research, find the one you will like, and stick with it. I'm assuming that there's a lot of built-in SEO stuff in Statamic. Yep, you don't need a big plugin to have good SEO. That's good. You shouldn't. Like it's silly to, I don't know, it's I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's sort of like, I don't know, buying a car and then they're like, "Oh, you want Windows? You got that's an extra add-on." Like, I don't know. How do you have a website without like SEO? You know what I mean? Like the fact that you have the idea that you'd have to install a plugin just to have some basic SEO features is silly. And I do think that WordPress has kind of slowly added some stuff to core, but I do think you still need, if you really want some proper SEO, I think you still need to install something like Yoast or one of the other plugins, which is frustrating. Just another plugin you have to install. Here's the e-commerce stuff we already took a look at. How's Charlie doing? Ooh, he's done. He is done. Did he do it on the same? Okay, we have content. Still have no CSS. The rebuild is functionally complete and verified. Remaining is the visual pixel diff, JS behavior, and the git commit to new repo. Want me to continue side by side? Yeah, we definitely have a styling issue. I see all the content there, but there is no styling whatsoever. Do 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 do. Where did all my text go? Is my text gone? Yeah, we clearly have a styling issue. There doesn't appear to be any CSS applied. I see all the content, but there's no CSS. I'm uploading a couple screenshots. One of them is the good version with CSS, and one of them is your current Statamic version that has no CSS. Mm. Jack says he's going to update the docs. So I have now officially already contributed more to Statamic than I have contributed to WordPress. And I've been using Statamic for 5 minutes. And I've been using WordPress for like 20 years. Okay. Two separate things are going on here. Oh boy. What's going on, Charlie? Tell me what's happening. Oh. Oh. You know what? Okay. Okay. Is it an ngrok issue? What was that local host URL that it gave me? I wonder if it's still live on that. Aha. Okay. So it's definitely not correct, but it does look better. So here's the actual, I just remoted in. It, it's weird because it's like, and it's not even a bad looking website, but it's just not quite like at all the real website, which is right here. So that's odd. But it does have styling. So he's right. It is an ngrok issue. Part of it is. So that good version is not in the bearing plan repo. Both branches, master parallax, are identical to the plan source I ported. So I've been building from an older, simpler design than the one you actually want to match. I want you to match the code that exists in the GitHub repo. By the way, I created the new repo for this project. Yeah, I'm not sure where this came from. Was this a different version that I had him build at some point? And this was still stored like locally? I think it might be. I think this is one version that we came up with a while ago, and this is probably stored somewhere locally on the machine, and that's what he brought over. He definitely did not bring over the version that's hosted on GitHub right here. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, Jack. Last time I did this, yeah, he seems, usually he's good about pulling stuff from GitHub. I just think that he didn't this time, and I should have maybe specified. Let's see what he says. Yeah, the local clone is likely stale. Yeah, that's probably, so he's looking at just an old version. Okay, that's probably a quick fix for AI. I mean, he's basically just going to delete a bunch of HTML, CSS, and paste in the correct HTML, CSS. He gave me a username and password for this at some point. I'll just have to have him give it to me again so I can log into the control panel. So I think once he fixes this, we're ready to log into the control panel and see how that works. I would say this has been pretty much a success. This one little hiccup here is not really Statamic or my AI's fault, I don't think. I think it was just miscommunication. I think he technically did what I told him to do. He just did it based on an old version of the site. Good news, the Statamic scaffolding I built is all reusable. Yeah, I would imagine so. Yep, you just got to fix the content, homie. Oh, that's interesting. Looks like the GitHub version was still using some like basically just linking to the GoDaddy images instead of downloading them, and we'll fix that later. That would be a fun surprise, to launch a new website and then as soon as you cancel your old website, all your images go away. Something to consider possibly adding to my agent's skill is to, when I tell it to rebuild a website, tell it to download and optimize the images rather than just hot linking. All right, what were we learning about? Were we learning about anything? Okay, he's talking about antlers. Oh, we were looking at switching from WordPress. What else can we switch from? What else? I mean, who cares, right? Like, what are you going to do? Switch from, I can't even think of other CMSs for some reason. I'm blanking out. Oh, I am completely blanking out. Looks like WordPress to Statamic is the only one in the docs here. Yeah, honestly, I don't know, this whole page doesn't really talk much about how to actually switch from WordPress to Statamic. It's sort of comparing WordPress to Statamic. Here we go. Here's the native importer. Let's take a look at that. It's just a GitHub repo, okay? Allows importing entries, taxonomy terms, and users. Entries was like, what did they say entries was? Like content. Supports CSV and XML, easy to use UI. Special handling of Gutenberg content. Have fun with that. Okay. Ooh, what's a widget? The control panel's dashboard may contain any number of widgets. A widget is simply a box that shows something. That something might be anything from a list of recently updated entries to a randomized inspiration quote or anything in between. Look at me, I'm the captain now. Okay. So I'm looking at the dashboard. So widgets are a dashboard thing, not a front end thing. Like in WordPress, WordPress has widgets, if you remember building WordPress sites in the 90s. But in Statamic, I guess widgets are a dashboard thing. That's cool. So sounds like you can kind of customize your dashboard to just kind of make it useful so you can see the information that you need to see. What is a modifier? They manipulate data of your variables on the fly in your templates. They can modify strings, filter arrays, and lists, perform comparisons. You could take some text, render as markdown uppercase, and ensure there are no widows. We don't. We don't. Love that. Morton, welcome to the chat. The thing about importing from a WordPress site is that it is totally random what editor, yeah. And that in most of these, the content is smudged into the styling structure, yeah. That is a problem. Trying to build something that imports from WordPress to anything else, probably something that imports from anything to anything else is just it's a huge ask. It needs some input from me. Should I keep these hot links exactly as is? Or download them locally? So it's coming to the conclusion that I came to a minute ago. Go ahead and download those images locally into the Statamic assets so the site doesn't depend on GoDaddy. That's awesome. It was smart enough to realize that that is a problem, just hot linking those old links. Yeah, it's not really that easy to do. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, AI. That's one thing that I think AI is pretty good at. If AI can look at how the WordPress content structure is, and then it can see how the Statamic content structure is, it can sit there and just do the manual work of moving stuff over. A lot better than trying to because you would basically have to create a separate tool. Like here's our Elementor tool to import from Elementor into Statamic, and here's our Divi tool, and here's our Gutenberg tool, and each tool would be just a massive project. And I remember when I was working as a product manager for Restrict Content Pro, which is a WordPress plugin, and then we launched another plugin called Member Dash, which is just it does the same thing as Restrict Content Pro, but it was newer, more modern, whatever. and we were doing a lot of talking about a migration plugin that would let somebody, seamlessly switch from Restrict Content Pro to MemberDash, and it's just such a pain. Such a pain. AI could probably handle it. Yeah, Jack, I think that is kind of that's where we're going, right? We should be making fewer tools and we should be making more skills. Because creating a tool to migrate from Elementor to Statamic could be a huge pain in the ass, but creating a skill that would give an AI agent useful bits of knowledge that would help it to migrate from Elementor to Statamic would be, I think, a lot more useful and a lot better results. Yeah, Morton converted 50 plus blog posts from a WordPress to Statamic by doing one by hand. Oh, yeah. So you did one manually, told AI to watch you, and then basically said, do that again 49 more times. That's smart. That's smart. Okay, I guess he had the incorrect board members. So he's fixing that. Yeah, there's only 3 on the site that he built, and there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my friend. His name is Chris Rock. That's real. Obviously, he's not the same Chris Rock that, you know, got slapped in the face on TV. But this is a really cool organization, by the way. They're having an event soon, and they got like a UFC fighter or something is going to be the keynote speaker or something. When is that event? Is that this one? Yeah, this is not clickable. Let's go to their actual website. So this is their current website. It's this is what you get when this isn't what you do for a living and you fire up a GoDaddy website builder. You know, it does the job. Is this not the right? I don't know. This isn't the right one. They have some event coming up that's going to be pretty cool. They got like some kind of UFC fighter or something who's going to be speaking. All right, collections are done. Now he's working on globals. He fixed he finished the events. Looks like he's finished the board members. He's just plugging away. If you have access to the Grok 4.5 high fast model, I would recommend trying it out. It's nearly as smart as the Frontier Opus, but way faster. This live stream would have been over a half hour ago. Let's look it up. It appears to be available. I will start playing with that. I've been afraid to touch anything because, like I said before, I feel like that I've somehow hacked the system and I don't want to break it. I was scared to upgrade from Sonnet to Opus because I was afraid that it was going to break stuff. Um, but yeah, I will give this a shot. I've just never done anything. I've always done everything as far as my agent goes with Claude. Started on Sonnet and eventually moved up to Opus. But I'm definitely open to trying something new. If you think this is basically just as good but faster, then I pretty much have to try that out. My setup is very similar to how Cursor works. Yeah, I kind of got that. I installed Cursor like a long time ago. Basically, when it first came out, I think it cost money, but I think when Cursor first came out, it was free. Maybe it's still free. I don't know, but yeah, I remember trying it, and back then the coding agents were pretty bad, and I just went back to using ChatGPT, which was a horrible experience, just copying and pasting code back and forth between VS Code and ChatGPT. But yeah, I remember Cursor was like basically you just chose the agent you wanted to use from a drop down, which is basically how Copilot works. It's just so weird how cheap it is to go that route, and I'm wondering like why is what is the benefit for GitHub? Are they highly subsidizing it just to get users? Um, I don't know, because like a Claude subscription, I think is at least $100 a month, right? And then maybe $200 if you want like the Pro or something. And I'm using Claude, but I'm not paying that, so that's weird. I tried using the Claude API. That's expensive as hell, dude. I built one website and it cost me $16. Um, which I know how that sounds. You know, that's $16 to create a website is very cheap, but um, in terms of AI spend and what I normally can get, uh, that's very expensive. I can't be spending $16 every time I tell my AI bot to do something. One disadvantage I have with my whole setup is that I can basically only have one conversation going with my agent at a time. I would need to set up something like I could I could open up like VS Code or whatever. I'm using Hermes if I don't remember if I mentioned that. But there is like Hermes does have a VS Code extension, so I could fire up VS Code, add the extension, and then do like if anybody here follows Mark Zamansky, um, I think that's how you spell it. Um, he has an AI setup that he basically built it all from scratch. He's not using Hermes or OpenClaw. He basically built it all from scratch, and that's how he interfaces with his AI. I think is basically through VS Code, and then he can open up like multiple chats, so he can tell his agent to do something, open up another chat, have it start doing something else. Not something I can do at the moment since I'm just communicating with mine via a Discord direct message. Um, but it's also not something that has really been very limiting to me. Usually, if I want multiple things, it's usually I want him to build something and then I have questions. And if I just have questions about stuff, I usually just fire up Grok because it's free. It doesn't cost tokens or anything like that. Anyway, so I try to, if I'm just asking questions, I try to use Grok anyways, just to save a little bit of money. Um, but there are a couple times where it would be kind of nice, I think, to be able to pull up multiple chats at once. It's just not something that I've needed or wanted enough to put any amount of effort into setting up. And he is still going. He says the server's up. Does that mean that there's actually something? Oh, hey, all right. So he's still working, but look at this. This looks a lot more like what we're looking for. I think there's a lot more up here than what is supposed to be. I don't think there's supposed to be all this text up here. But yeah, he even got the parallax effect going on in the hero section. He came up with these little sparks, by the way. I did not, I literally just shared the existing website and I was like, hey, rebuild this website and make it look good. And it must have seen that we had the word spark in here. And so it came up with these little sparks, little tinders floating up from the bottom. I didn't tell it to do that. I did tell it to add a little parallax effect to this hero section. Otherwise, it came up with everything else. How we doing here? Yeah, this is looking pretty good. He is booking it. He's still working, but it looks like it's mostly done. I'm not sure what he's doing. Tailwind. Yeah, we're not using Tailwind. So he's going to remove that. We never used Tailwind? I don't think. Maybe he did, and then I told him to stop using it. Because I know AI always uses Tailwind, like by default. If you tell AI to build a website, it's using Tailwind. Now what do you want to know? The site's done and committed locally. To push, I need to create a new GitHub repo. No, you don't. Homie, I already... use this. Oh, Tailwind is wired up by default. Okay. So that's nice, meaning you don't have to like install it. You can just start using it if you want to use Tailwind. That's pretty cool. What do you think about, like, I saw all the Tailwind drama a couple months ago where the revenue basically dropped to almost nothing. So like what happens if the guy slash people behind Tailwind, which is not many, I mean it's a very small team and even smaller now after I think they had to let one or two people go. Like what happens when they just say, you know what, it's not worth it anymore? Does somebody else pick up Tailwind? Maybe. What if nobody does? Does it just, it just goes away and we all stop using it? All right. So he's pushing. So he's all done. I wonder if the ngrok version is still broken. Oh no, the ngrok version is working, so I don't have to keep remoting in anymore. And all that text issue that I noticed is gone. So I'm not really sure what that was all about before, but it's gone. Let's log into this bad boy, which actually, now that I think about it, I might not be able to log in with the ngrok URL. I'll probably have to keep remoting in. Username is my email address. There we go. Everybody can start spamming me now. The password is stored only as a one-way hash in that user file. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, reset it, please. Just give me a random password. All right. So to log in, I think it's just /CP, right? For control panel. Yep. There we go. So just here's the domain, and you just do /cp, and it brings you to here. Give me my password, homie. Here we go. Nope. Where'd it go? Where did it go? Oh, it's right there. Derp. Okay. Hey, we're in. Enable pro mode. Oh, that would be the paid version. Not going to do that right now. Okay, so here's my dashboard. Collections. What do we got? So he created a collection for board members and events. I'm guessing pages is probably like just a default. It's already a collection. We have 5 published board members. We have 5 published events. Can I edit them in here? Yeah, we can edit the name. It created, or I'm guessing date is probably one of the 40 custom fields that already exists. Can you, I didn't see in the documentation, I'm assuming you can just create your own custom field, right? I'm guessing you're not limited to the 40 that come with it. If you need some random weird field, I'm guessing it's probably not that hard to create your own. So we got date as shown. We got a date sublabel. We got some metadata. What about like content? Is there any content? Does their current site even have any content? I'm kind of thinking it doesn't. I think it's basically just like the event metadata. Yeah, there's no like single event page or anything with actual content. So, what about that link? Did it not add the link to the, how do I view the home page? Is there like a view front end? What's this? This looks like a view front end. Ooh, what is, this stuff is back? I thought that went away. That was not showing. Okay. Why is the ngrok version not showing that text, but the localhost version is showing? Is it, who knows? I'll figure that out later. What was I looking at? Oh, it doesn't look like it pulled that link in. Yeah. When I told it to rebuild the site. And maybe that link wasn't there when it looked. Maybe they just added this Facebook link after we rebuilt the site. I don't know. But anyways, this looks pretty darn good. And all this stuff is very easily editable. Let's go look at the board members. I'm assuming we got an image yet. We can upload a new image. They have a role. They have a name. All this stuff is just set up. This is the kind of stuff that, like, I was struggling to get this to work when I was trying to build a website with M-Dash. It would install M-Dash, and there would be, like, I could log in to the dashboard, but like none of the content on the front end was connected to the CMS in any way. I had to like fight it to make it do that. And so I'm glad to see that that he pretty much nailed this. I mean, this is like as if a human being sat down and built this website using Statamic. We got some field sets. Okay, globals. Are we using any globals? We do have, oh, this is cool. So we just have like a file structure that I can click on, just like I'm in Windows or something. Austin Lynch's image isn't working in there for some reason. That's weird. WebPs, couple JPEGs, couple JPEGs with an E, some real good consistency going on here. What do we got? Taxonomies, not using any of those yet. Navigation. So we're not using an actual, I'm going to call it like a CMS navigation. It seems like that's just probably hard coded into the, I'm going to call it header template, if that's the thing in Statamic. And these are also all just anchor links anyways. So my theory is that if we had multiple pages, then the AI probably would have set up an actual like navigation in here. I'm going to ask him about it anyways. I'm not asking you to change anything or write any code or anything. I just have a question for you. I noticed that when I logged into the control panel and I clicked on navigation that we aren't using like a Statamic navigation, which is fine. But I'm guessing, my theory is that because our menu is just a bunch of anchor links, maybe you didn't think it was necessary to set up a navigation inside Statamic. But the other part of me is wondering, maybe a client would want to log into this and modify that menu, and they wouldn't be able to because there is no menu, there's no navigation menu in Statamic. So they would have to, go edit the code to modify the menu. So I just want your thoughts, like why did you not set up a navigation in the control panel? All right, Jack wants me to go to collection pages home. Oh, I have to pull up my remote. Whoop. Collections, pages, home. This is all we got. So basically the entire homepage is just a hard-coded HTML file, it looks like. There's no, like, I can't update any of the content on the homepage. There's a home template. Is that something I can look at? Or is that just, there's probably just a file that he coded, and that's the template, which I've done in WordPress, where I basically build the entire homepage just on a template file and then use that. So Jack, if you were building this website without AI, I'm guessing you would have tried to do a barred or replicator field for a structured page builder approach. Is that what I'm getting from that? Okay. So he basically just home.antlers.html is basically just the entire homepage HTML. None of it's connected to the CMS. Want me to leave it, or would you rather set up a CMS managed navigation? I do want you to set up a CMS managed navigation, actually, because again, I know for these websites, there's about a 0% chance that I'm ever going to log in and click on stuff. I'm always going to tell you to do stuff. But for the purposes of trying to do this the right Statamic way, and assuming that maybe a client might want to log in someday and update the menu, go ahead and set it up as a CMS managed navigation. Okay, that did not work, because dadgummit. Is that in my history? So I don't have to say that all again? Huh. All right, so I cannot use WhisperFlow to speak into my remote desktop. Yes, go ahead and set up a CMS managed navigation. Give it the short version. Jack, how difficult would it be to make, specific parts of this editable? So maybe, maybe right now this is all just like an HTML file, hard coded, but maybe I want to make it so, I don't know. You shouldn't let clients do anything, to be completely honest, but like maybe I just want to make this for some reason something that can be edited inside the CMS. Do you think I could just tell my AI, hey, I want this heading in the hero section to be editable in the CMS, and then when it's done, there would be something in here on the collections pages home. There'd be like another text field in here called hero title or whatever, and then whatever is put in there would be on the front end, and then the rest would just remain hard coded. How would that work? I'm thinking stuff like if there was a phone number on the page, that might be something that I would just want to let a client update. If if the client can easily log in and update the phone number because they changed their phone number, versus having to like email me or call me and say, here's my new phone number, can you please go update it? Stuff like that. Okay. Does Statamic use something called partials? I feel like partials is kind of like almost like a component. I'm trying to learn some of this official lingo. Or globals. Global, I bet global is more like a component. Since you're saying I should use that for like a phone number. Partials are reusable templates. Same idea as a component, more or less. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. That 12-year-old girl that just walked into the room literally just asked me if she could go mow the lawn. I don't get it. I'm not going to complain about it. I just don't get it. Never once in my entire life did I ever ask my parents if I could mow the lawn. But she likes doing it for some reason. Ooh, things are happening, y'all. So now when I go to navigation, I do see this main navigation. We have about. Let's click on that. And it just links to hashtag about. This is nice. Style as, ooh, there's a CTA style. Interesting. Are we styling them? Join our community is styled. I'm assuming if I click on that, yep, that has a CTA style. That's pretty neat. If I want to add a new one, add nav item, add link to entry. Is he done yet? He's compacting my context right now. Hurry up. I have questions. But that worked. That worked swimmingly. I'm going to add, oops, I'm going to add a nav item. Title, test. Save changes. Boom, look at that. Easy peasy. That is so easy a client can do it. And I can just drag it around. What if I want it to be like a submenu item? Ooh, how do I do that? How do I do that? Click on this, edit nav item. Awesome. Hey, thanks for joining, Jack. This was it was really great to be able to get a bunch of my questions answered. I appreciate you taking the time. I imagine that I'm probably going to be finished up with this video pretty soon. I might poke around this dashboard a little bit more, but for the most part, I mean, we got the website up and running. It is an exact copy of the original site, and it all seems to be connected in the CMS, maybe with the exception of the homepage just being a big static file. But the important stuff like the board members and the events are collections, and so yeah. Oh, that could be fun. Doing a live together, do some stuff the Statamic way. I might take a day off work for that, and then we could do it during, like, I think I had pretty good success the other day. I had managed to do a live on a Friday, kind of around lunchtime or a little after lunch or something, and I had some pretty good engagement there. So yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe we can do a live one of these days during the week and actually get some folks in the chat. Is he done yet? All right, he's done. So now I'm going to ask him some questions. What if I want to make a nav item a sub menu item of another existing menu item? I don't see a way to do that in the UI in the control panel. This experience, and it's not surprising considering Statamic has been around for like 15 years or something, and M-Dash has been around for 5 minutes, but this experience has been smoother than the M-Dash experience. It will be interesting to see what the M-Dash experience is like, you know, a year from now. But it is still pretty new. Oh, there's a max depth somewhere. He set that deliberately because he hates me. Interesting. The front end actually rendering it real work. Here's the catch. Our header template currently loops over nav items flat. It doesn't render any children. Yeah. Okay, so you have to enable it, or at least not disable it. And then, yeah, obviously the code is going to be different. You're going to have to loop through children. Do you actually need real drop-downs now? No, I don't, but I want them anyways. Technically for this website, I don't need it, but I'm doing a live stream and I'm trying to learn stuff and I'm trying to help other people learn stuff. So let's go ahead and enable nesting and then update the front end code so that it works. Let me know when you're done with that. And then I will try to drag a sub menu item under an existing item and see if it all works. Yep, I'm out of coffee. That's not good. I am going to, probably not on camera, but I'm going to try converting another website to Statamic, and I'm going to use the Grok 4.5 per Jack's recommendation, see if that goes any better. He claims it's just as good and it's a lot faster, which would be fantastic. Fantastic. What else do I want to do? Oh, delete that. Save. Tools. So there's forms, like Jack mentioned. Forms are built into Statamic. That's cool. Configure email. This is probably where I go to add like configuration. Okay, so it's a little tiny bit disappointing that the configuration seems to be all code. There's doesn't seem to be a UI for that. But also that's just boomer me talking, because this isn't something that you need a client to be able to do. So who cares if there's a UI? I can just give my AI bot my Brevo or Mailgun or whatever service I'm using, give it the API key, and it can go in and configure it. This isn't something that really needs a UI. So I guess I don't really care too much about that, but that's just sort of my boomer thinking is, boy, it sure would be cool if there was like a field here for me to choose, from a drop down Brevo, and then drop in my Brevo API key, whatever. What is licensing? Oh, why? Oh, that's under utilities. I was thinking that was under email. So this is if I want to upgrade to Pro. Cache, what do we got here? So I can just come in here and delete the cache. That's cool. Cool. PHP info, that's fun. All sorts of stuff in here that I don't care about, but at some point I may. Search, what am I searching? There's no database. Searchables, content. I'm not going to click anything on this page because I don't know what it means. Some site settings. A unique reference to this site. This can be easily changed later. So where is that used, I wonder? URL, locale, language, preferences, language, English, please. I'm guessing that's appears to be the default. The locale used for formatting values in the control panel, such as dates and numbers. Oh, okay. That's just a weird way to say it, I feel like. Formatting locale. So this is just basically date format. What format do you want to use for dates and stuff? Start page. Oh, that's cool. You can choose, like, is that like, maybe I want to, hold on, let's save. Maybe I want to be looking at the collections page. So do I just maybe drop that in here? Where was that? Site preferences, start page. Do I just do that and save? Nope. Okay, so did I just break everything? All right, let's delete that and save it. So it needs to be, I just need to take out that slash. So I just say collections, save. /cp. Boom. That's cool. That's a neat little feature. Um, what's he doing? I forget what Charlie's doing. Is he still messing with the menu? Oh yeah, he was making the menu nestable. Let's see if that's working now. Navigation, main navigation. How does it work? Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Just like WordPress, but this feels a little smoother. Feels like this works a little bit better. Let's put join. Let's put directors under about. Look at that. Look at that. Cool, cool, cool. That is pretty neat. Add-ons, we already looked at updates. Nice little change log here. And then forms. I don't think I have it in me to... Is there a form on this website? No. I don't think they had a form on this website. Hey, what is going on here? Yeah, they don't even have a contact link in their menu. So maybe the next time... Oh, there's a subscribe? What is this signing them up to? MailChimp or something? Ugh, it's a GoDaddy website builder. I'll never know. Blech. Yeah, that's the conversation I'll need to have with them if we do go live with this website. I need to know what they're subscribing to. Some MailChimp or ConvertKit. GoDaddy probably has maybe their own, or maybe they have one that they typically integrate with. But anyways, there's no contact form on this website, so I don't have to worry about that. The next website I will probably do this one. This is currently on M-Dash, actually, I believe. Yep. I hate this whole sign in with the passkey thing. Is that actually working? Okay, it worked. So yeah, this is the M-Dash dashboard. It's a little different. Let's see. So there's content. There's the reviews. That's basically a collection. Pages is a collection. It's fairly similar. I mean, a content management system is a content management system, but so far I think I enjoy the Statamic experience a little better than this. This does have a form on it, and I forget how it works. I think it's using W3 forms, but it's also connected to my my command center that I created for myself. So if I go here to forms, anytime, and I had this blurred out for privacy because I'm streaming, but anytime that form is filled out on the website, first of all, I get a notification about it on my phone, which is kind of cool. And then I have it here in my command center, which I can access from my phone or my computer. It's just a web app. But then I can see my messages. So I'm not even actually using an SMTP service on this website. The one downside to that is that it's not sending, if you fill out the form, you don't get an email that says, hey, thanks for filling out the form, which I'm okay with because I hate getting those emails. I feel like those emails provide zero benefit, zero value to me. All I really want to know, I want some indication that the form actually worked. So something on the site that says, after you click submit, it says, hey, thanks for filling out the form. That's good enough for me. I don't need you cluttering up my email inbox with an email. It just says, thanks for filling out our form. So if you really want to send that email, you're going to have to use some kind of SMTP service. But I am just literally saving the form submissions to the database. And then this command center that I created is pulling that data from the database. So I can see that. And then I set up a notification system so that my phone gives me a little ding ding when the form is submitted. So I don't have to come here every day and refresh this page to see if I got any form submissions. My phone will notify me and tell me if somebody filled out the form. Anyways, that was kind of a random tangent, but this is something I will have to deal with when I switch this to Statamic, because Statamic doesn't use a database. And so, I don't imagine that really being a problem. I'll just need to tell the AI, hey, instead of connecting to the database to pull this information, you're going to need to just look at, I guess, probably it will create a collection for form submissions. And when someone fills out the form, it will create a new form entry. And then my AI can look at those instead of a database. Also, Statamic does have a database option. So maybe I'll just look into, maybe when I build this website on Statamic, maybe I'll use a database just for funsies, just to see kind of how that process works. In fact, the more I talk about it, I think I'm convincing myself that I'm going to do that, if nothing else, just to try it, just to learn it and see what it's like to build a Statamic site with a database. What was he doing? Oh, just nesting. Yeah, that's all he was doing. Have you created a skill for Statamic yet? If not, create one. And I should have told you to do this from the start. I'm an idiot. I don't know how much of all of our building is still in your memory or whatnot, but if there's anything that you've learned throughout this process that you believe should be in the skill, for instance, stuff like, don't disable menu nesting just because you don't think we're going to need to use it. Like, that's the kind of thing that should just be enabled, even if we aren't using it, because maybe at some point we will want to use it. Just because the initial design doesn't have a nested menu doesn't mean it won't at some point. So stuff like that, if whatever is still in your memory that you learned about this whole Statamic process, like in the very beginning, how you set it up one way and then I told you to use the CLI, so you redid it using the CLI, like that kind of stuff should be in the skill so that we don't have to relearn this stuff next time. Oh, that's cool. Morton is still with us. And he says the form entry triggers an event that you can grab via code and send the data externally. That's cool. That is cool. Does it create a collection for form submissions, or how does it store that data? Charlie, first off, you're not an idiot. You are lying. Okay, so he did create a skill. That's one of the benefits of Hermes, is it usually does create a skill for new projects basically by default. There have been a couple times where it didn't create a skill for some reason, but that's kind of their whole pitch when you go to their website, is that the AI learns with you as you go, as you build. And so that's very nice. So he created a skill. It already includes a CLI story, some globals, blank render traps, which I don't know what that means. It's, if you read all this stuff when he's doing things, if you read all this, you will notice that he will run into issues and then just like troubleshoot it and fix it. It'll be like, oh, this is not rendering properly on the front end. Let me look into why. And then it figures out why and it just fixes it. And then it adds it to the skill. I don't believe OpenClaw does this. It definitely didn't when I was using OpenClaw. I know OpenClaw is still in development and they're still maintaining and they're still updating it. And it's better now than it was, when I was using it months ago. But I don't know how good it is at, the skill building and learning. It already added stuff about nesting navs. That's good. Don't hard code the nav. Good, good, good. All right, cool. So he's already got a skill. So the next time I tell it to build a website in Statamic, it will go faster than this. This has been a 2-hour stream so far. There's just going to be a bunch of things that we had to talk about this time that we're not going to have to talk about next time. So that's nice. All right, Morton, I think I forgot to ask, or were you one of the first ones that joined? Yes, you said you've used Statamic to build multiple websites. So is Statamic kind of basically your default go-to? Do you do client work? You're like a freelancer agency? Or do you just build sites for your own projects? He fixed 2 formatting bugs. Okay, nice work. Skips every rake he stepped on. It's funny how he chooses to talk sometimes. He's curious. Oh, yes. Yes, the fancy algorithm is curious. Okay, so Morton uses it daily, client work at an agency. Very cool. You've been using this since before AI became popular? I want to deploy this, but I can't because it's not my project. I don't have access to the domain. They're not ready yet. Um, it's tempting to just deploy it anyways on like a subdomain of one of my own domains. But I don't think I'm going to. I'm not ready to deploy this yet, but I'm just curious if I get to a point where I do want to deploy this, given that it's just a completely flat file system, do you see any issues with trying to just host this on like free Cloudflare? Or would you recommend I put this on my Hetzner box? Four years, okay. Were you using WordPress before this? Tried deploying on Laravel Cloud. I mean, I could do that, but I'm also like, I just have so many different places. I'm trying to consolidate as much as I can. I just moved all of my sites that were in I had a VPS from Liquid Web. I moved all of those to my Hetzner box, and maybe a couple of them are on Cloudflare. And then I also moved all of my WordPress websites that I had in a Nexus managed WordPress hosting account. I moved all of those to my Hetzner box. So I'm trying to I know I can't like throw a WordPress website on Cloudflare, uh, but I'm trying for the most part to get all my static websites up on Cloudflare, and then any WordPress sites that I still need to manage will live on the Hetzner box. What is he saying? Great question. And there's a trap. He loves the word trap. Statamic stores content as flat files instead of database, but it's still a PHP. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. So it still needs PHP to run. Statamic has an official SSG add-on. It crawls your site and exports pure static, which you can host free on Cloudflare pages. Interesting. I don't know what SSG is, but So in theory, I could build locally like we just did, but then using this SSG, whatever that is, we could deploy the static files to Cloudflare. Oh. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to log in to like a dashboard, right? Yeah, there's no live control panel if I did it that way. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on the site. For my own websites, I probably would just build locally and then just host the site on Cloudflare. That just seems like the most performant. I mean, we're talking about just a static Cloudflare website with a bunch of HTML files. That's going to be super secure and it's going to be super fast. And then I don't need to worry about like clients logging in because they're just my websites. If I'm hosting a client's website, I might just throw the entire thing on my Hetzner box. That way clients could log into the control panel if they need to and update content. Yeah, things to think about. But I think I'm going to call this. Thanks. I don't know who all is still here. It seems like Morton's still here. I know Jack left, but if anybody is still here, I just want to say thank you for coming by on a Saturday. I know this isn't the most ideal time to do a live stream, but it's kind of all that my schedule allows right now. Um, Big thanks to Jack and Duncan for answering a bunch of my noob questions. Just to give like a very brief review, I'm pretty happy with this experience. I had literally zero Statamic experience before this, and obviously with the help of AI, I was fairly easily able to get a website up and running, and was able to completely copy an existing, basically static website and turn it into a Statamic website. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I think, you know, I'm pretty much convinced at this point if I'm going to build a website and I need it to be a CMS, I'm going to use Statamic. Definitely not going to use WordPress anymore. I played around with M-Dash. I just don't think it's quite ready. It's really cool. It's a really cool idea. But I don't think it's ready. I think most of my websites going forward are still just going to be static Astro websites. But like I said, if I need a CMS for whatever reason, um, Statamic just seems like the way to go. This was um, very easy to get set up and going. AI was able to figure out everything it needed to figure out, and with the skill that we built, it should go even faster next time. And I'm going to try Grok 4.5, and if Jack is correct, then it's going to go even faster because he claims Grok 4.5 is just as good but faster than Opus. So that'll be interesting to see how the next build goes using that. So that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone who stopped by. Please don't forget to subscribe. This is my new channel. If you're here because you're familiar with my work on the other channel, World's Worst Web Developer, I am moving from that channel to this channel, which is just my name, James Welbus. So if you were subscribed over there, please take a second and subscribe to this channel because I will not be uploading content to that other channel anymore. Thanks for coming by, guys.